Hi, guys. I am going to be introducing Margaret Wilkerson Sexton in just a minute. It's going to be a taped telephone call, so you won't get to watch us, but I am so excited to be interviewing her. Her debut novel is called A Kind of Freedom, and it's set in New Orleans, three generations. It goes from World War II all the way to after Katrina. So it was a very interesting read. I learned so much about New Orleans. It made me hungry for New Orleans food, I have to say. I kept looking at flights because I love New Orleans so much and I love their food. But anyway, I can't wait to talk to her. And what a book to have as your debut novel. The reviews have been amazing. I'm sure she's excited. So anyway, here's Margaret.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be speaking with Margaret Wilkerson Sexton, and we're going to be talking about her debut novel called A Kind of Freedom. Thank you so much for talking with me today, Margaret.
Thank you for having me.
I was so excited when you said yes because I couldn't wait to read this book. When I saw that it was set in New Orleans, I was so excited because I've been to New Orleans twice in my life. And it was 2 years in a row because I went down there because everybody said to me a couple of years ago, "You've never been to New Orleans? You have to go to New Orleans." So I was like, okay. So I went down there. I ate for an entire 5 days, and I came back.
I know.
The next year, I was like, I have to go back to New Orleans. I got to get all that food again. And then I went back,
yeah.
and I ate for another 5 days.
I know. I time my visits around certain festivals so that I can eat certain dishes that might be in season. My trips are all geared. I'm going to have 3 meals of each day. It's pretty insane, but the food is amazing.
It's crazy because what I had to do was space out my eating. Okay, I had to actually plan my eating because I'd be so full. And then I'm like,
yeah,
well, I have to eat dinner in 3 hours. Okay, wait. Okay.
I know.
Try to work it, try to walk around and, I mean, it's just crazy because you want to get it all in. And
exactly.
I found this place and it's not in the city of New Orleans. And I wish I could tell you the name of it. I was trying to think of it all day today, knowing I was going to be talking to you, but it's like on the outskirts of New Orleans. And it was like called some like country, like this little country place. And the red beans and rice and the food that I got at this place, the biscuits, they had to roll me out to the parking lot. Okay,
I wonder what it was. Was it in like Metairie or
something? You know what's crazy is that all you have to do is ask people like where to eat, and they'll tell you. They'll be like, "Oh, did you try this? Did you?" People in New Orleans are so happy to tell people where to eat. Because they know all the places. So and I never went back there. I went there on my first trip. I couldn't find it on the second, but that's okay because I found way better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just hard to find red beans at a restaurant that are good, I find.
Oh, but you kind of know. You kind of know.
Yeah, people who live there know. But I find it hard to find red beans that taste like you would make them at home.
Well, anyway, so it was so much fun. There are so many great things about this book, but I was finding that I kept looking at flights to New Orleans. I'm like, is there anything going on in New Orleans in January? Can I go down there?
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
But I don't know, but I do know I want to try to hit the jazz festival the next time. So whenever that is, I'm going to try to be there then. I'm going to try to plan it out.
I think it's in April this year.
Oh, did they change it?
Well, I think it's always the last weekend of April and then the first weekend of May or something like that.
Oh, I'm definitely checking that out.
I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah. So my husband is really into jazz music, so we have gone. We've tried to time our visits around the jazz festival a few times, and it only worked out like twice in the last 5 years. But we were thinking about going to Jazz Fest this year, so we'll see. I'm actually going for the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival at the end of March, so it might not work because it's so close together, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, you grew up there, so you know New Orleans. And so, I mean, to have your first novel set there, but the thing I loved about it was that, okay, it's 3 generations, and I really got a feel of what it was like history-wise. I mean, we all know about Katrina, but before that, I mean, I didn't know what was going on during those different time periods, and it was like very eye-opening. I mean, and I'm sure you're getting that from everybody who's read this book and telling you, that hasn't been there. Like, I just love that. I love first of all, I'm really into like my ancestors, and I don't know a lot about mine, and so it's really cool that you took a family through 3 generations like that. And how did you think about doing that? Like, what brought you to that decision for your first novel?
Yeah, I would say there was a book that I worked on before this one that was set in the Dominican Republic, and it was more of a contemporary book. The main character was in her 20s. She was fresh out of college, and she was going to help this struggling community in the Dominican Republic. And it was also going to shed light on social issues, like the mistreatment of Dominicans of Haitian descent, but it was a contemporary book. And I worked on it for many years, but it just wasn't working. And always in the back of my mind, I had this idea. This idea was like a gift. Like, I didn't have to think about it. It was given to me, and it was like I just knew that I knew how it would be structured. I knew who the characters would be. I wasn't exactly sure actually, I knew Evelyn and Renard's storyline was just going to revolve around a romance that, was stunted because of class difference. I knew that. So, and then I also knew that the key character was going to be in and out of jail. And again, these were just ideas that were given to me, partially based on my own family, but it was also just based on my interest in what I've perceived to be a decline in certain pockets of the African American community. And so I just thought that a novel structured that way, involving those storylines and those characters, could really illustrate this decline and could speak a little bit to why that decline has taken place. And so, I knew it would be in New Orleans because I'm from there, but also, again, it was just part of the vision I had that was given to me. But I'm so glad that readers have connected so much with the fact that it was set in New Orleans, and people have said that it feels like New Orleans is its own character. And I'm so grateful for that because although I grew up there, I moved when I was 12. And, I kept going 3 times a year. I would go and stay with my dad for the summers and holidays and all of that. I was often there, but I still felt like I needed to do research because, I didn't learn, well, I guess I did learn to drive in New Orleans, but, I wasn't living there all the time. And so there were certain things I just needed to get more information on, and I'm glad that the research and my own childhood there, that they were enough to resonate with people who actually have either been there or people who even live there. People who live there have said that it really speaks to their experience. So I'm really glad that turned out right.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it because, so I had been there, and I did feel like when I was there, because I've lived all over in the country. I lived in California, I've lived in D.C., I'm from Pennsylvania, I've traveled a lot. But going there was so different, and I wish I could explain it, but I really don't know how to explain it. It was just such a different feel. Like, it's like, wow, I don't know. I'm a northerner, there's a different, but I've lived in Florida too, but it's not even like that. But it's like, it's such a cultural difference.
Yeah.
Is that how you want to say it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. I was thinking, it feels like the cultural texture there and the richness of it make it feel like you're not in this country.
Right.
Like it feels distinct. And I feel like that whenever I get off of the plane, or if I'm just like walking down the street in New Orleans, or if I'm eating there or talking to people there, especially with the accent.
Yes.
I feel like you're in a different place entirely.
Yes.
And that's what I love about that city. It's such a special place to go to because you really feel like you're not in this country, and it's just such a rich cultural experience. And in that way, as a first-time author to set a book there, it's actually like, how do I say this? Like a free pass almost. Like, I'll have to work harder on my next book because it's not set in New Orleans. New Orleans is so rich culturally. It did a lot of the work for me. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I loved the opening scene. That was one of my favorite. Like when I go back, because I had listened to it and I had read it. Okay. And what I always do, I shouldn't say always. I've started to within the last month or two. Is that if I listen to it, which I don't know if you've listened to it yet, but it is amazing. They did such a great job, and so kudos to the people that did the reading of this book because it's
great.
It's such a different experience, is what I want to say.
Yeah,
that's why I listen to a lot of the books because it gives me a really good feel, and they did so good with the accents and the people, and I knew who everybody was by so they did a great job.
Yeah,
but. Anyway, what I'll do is I finish it, and then I go back and I redo the first chapter. And for this one, I re-listened to the first chapter, and I was like, I just love the opening scene. And between Evelyn and Ruby.
Yeah.
I love that opening scene. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it gave me so much more. I don't know, for some reason when you go back and you read, you're like, because you know the characters now really, really well, and it's like, I remember the first time I read it, or I think, I read it first, and then I had listened to it, and the first time I read it, when they're talking about how Ruby, how you were talking about how Ruby's just a little bit, got a little bit more meat on her than Evelyn about the gap between her legs, and I was like, if every woman doesn't relate to that, I don't know. especially as older women who have been both, it's like we've had our partners.
Yeah.
With,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And I love their relationship, and I don't have a sister, and now, and I know you don't, but you wrote, I have daughters that are sisters, and I thought you played them so well. Like, I love their relationship. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but
I love writing about sisters. I don't know.
You?
I think because I always wanted a sister.
Me
and
too.
my mom has sisters, and, I grew up with my cousins who are sisters, and so I've seen it a lot, and I think I paid a lot of attention to it because I always wanted a sister.
Do you have two daughters? Because you said you have 3 children.
No, I don't have 2 daughters.
Oh, you have 1 daughter.
I really wanted 2 daughters, but you know how that goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Well, I love watching my daughters be sisters, but I have to tell you.
I bet.
Yeah, because I have 6 children, but 4 of them are boys. And then my 2 middle children are my girls, right? And it's so much fun watching them, but and my one daughter's listening to this because she has to do social media, and she's my older daughter. But what I love watching them is that they'll we aren't in the same city, okay? My younger daughter and I are, but my other daughter's in Dallas, and so we constantly are on the phone with each other like all day, right? But I know that if I call them, and she's hearing me say this, but I know if I call them and they don't pick up, they are talking to each other and they are ignoring me, okay? Like they're like, oh, that's just mom trying to call anyway.
I love that. Wow.
So they got a thing going, and I'm just like this peripheral, I'm like, oh, it's mom, and then they just keep talking and they just ignore me. So I know they do that. They didn't tell me, but I know it.
That is so funny.
But like reading these sisters, like that their relationship, that was just like, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it, and it was interesting for me to find out that you didn't have a sister, because I really thought the way you wrote them, I really thought you did.
Yeah, I know. People have said that. I mean, I don't mean to say I know, because I'm learning that it worked out, but a lot of people talk about the sisters, and that's like their favorite part is the sisters. And I think it's because when I'm writing, it's like I'm going into another another reality. And I wonder if it gives me so much joy to write about this. It's almost like I'm having a sister.
Yeah.
I'm in that world,
Yes.
And so, I really enjoy that part.
Okay, but I have to tell you, my favorite character was Jackie. And
oh my gosh, nobody ever says that.
Really? I
No,
think I just
she's my
relate
favorite
to that.
character too.
Is she?
Can we say that
Okay.
again?
Yeah, I didn't know she was your favorite character because I felt like her growth, the things that she had to go through, I just felt her. Like, and, maybe it's her time period because, I was growing up in the 80s and I had children in the
Mhm.
80s. And so maybe I just felt her,
Mhm.
felt really close to her. But I also,
Yeah.
what you did with her, I love being able to tell you this. Okay, what I love is that, okay, so she, and I'm not giving away spoilers. I will say this
Yeah.
without giving away spoilers. But her experience with men, and then she has a son, okay? So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it kind of comes full circle for her, because
Yeah.
I feel like that's how she dealt with her son was because of her experience. And I don't know. I love the ending,
That's
so
so true.
we can't talk about it too much because I don't want to give any of it away. But like when it gets to the ending, I'm just like, she's just so awesome.
Yeah.
I just loved her. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. So anyway, I love being able to tell you that. And I picked out.
It's so nice to hear. That's the best part about the book being out in the world is hearing people's reactions to it, and you hear different angles, different aspects of reactions that I wouldn't have considered. Like, what you just said, for instance, I wasn't setting out to do that. I wasn't thinking I'm going to have her, consciously at least, I wasn't thinking I'm going to have her relationship with her son be like an echo sort of her relationship with her husband, but it makes sense that when you say it, I'm like, oh, of course it's there. And maybe at some level I was intending to do it, but I don't think I was actually thinking about it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think that, when you say that the story was kind of given to you, isn't it interesting that that's how it worked out, though? Like,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
I thought it was so planned, but I think it was just given, like you didn't even know, so that's kind of cool.
Well, I was just reading something where another author was saying that a story is like, it's almost like something you excavate and it's buried. And let's say you're an archaeologist and you find it, where it's buried, and your job is to pull it out intact.
Right. I love that.
And I think that's very interesting. Isn't that interesting? So I'm trying to do that now, like just purely just pull it out intact. And I'm finding that when I think about it that way, things go a little bit smoother.
Yeah, it's almost like if you put so much effort and you're like trying to push it rather than letting it come or something like that. Rather than letting it come to you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could tell you that then because I really, really love that. And I want to tell you my favorite quote because I have like 10 of them written down, but I had to come up with one because every Friday I do like a favorite of each book. And with your book, it's either going to be like, I'm either going to say favorite character or I'm going to say this quote. I haven't decided yet. I'll see how the week turns out for that week. But my favorite quote was, he was by no means a thief, but Jackie had learned the hard way that life could drag disgrace out of you. I love that.
Yes. Thank you so much. That's my favorite line.
Is it?
Yes. And I get chills when I hear that line. But I don't, it's people like what they like, but I've never talked to somebody who pulled, the only time I saw that line in a review, somebody pulled it out in a review and I thought, oh, okay, great. Finally that line is getting some attention. But I just think that's such a, because isn't that true about life?
Yes. Yes. And I love that because like I said, I connected with her. I think her and I have a lot in common. And when she said it, it was one of those moments when I was like, she got it. Like, I feel like she got it, She had to go through stuff, but it's like I don't know, it didn't bring her down and it didn't make her hate him in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I think it just didn't bring her down as much as I think she grew so much by that time. So, but I loved what you did. I mean, this whole story when you went back and forth on the timelines, I mean, that is tricky. I've read books where that doesn't work at all, but I thought it worked really well in your book. And I found myself at times being like, no, don't leave her. I gotta find out. But then I'd get back into another one, and I'd be like, oh, but that's how you know you did it well, is when people don't want to leave that timeline,
Oh,
But,
well, thank you. Thank you.
But I
did
love going through them.
Thank you. That was just also, well, actually, what I was thinking about doing when I first had the vision of it. I was thinking I would do 3 narrative blocks, so it wouldn't weave in and out. And I thought I would just start with. I always knew I wanted to end with the way I ended it.
Yeah.
I thought I would start with TC and end with Evelyn, and there wouldn't be any mingling. It would just be like one section after the other. And then my editor at the time said, no, it would be better to weave them in and out. And so, and I had forgotten that she was the one who said that, but I'm pretty sure she was the one who said that when I was writing it early on. So, I'm glad it worked out. It's hard to know. Like, I'll never be able, unfortunately, I'll never be able to read the book as an objective person anymore. And I would love to, because, you hear people talking about the book, and I just wish I could have the experience of a first read of this book just to see what I would think,
Right.
But,
right. Well, it's all your,
it's
hard
great
work.
to know that. Yeah. But sometimes if I haven't read it in a while, I'll go back and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, but it's good. It's good to hear what people liked and what worked for people, especially as you go into the next project.
Right. Well, we have something in common, though, because I saw that you were a lawyer back in the day, and I was a secretary. And
oh my gosh.
I did that for a long time. I worked in for a very large firm in Washington, D.C., and
oh my gosh.
I was from the time I graduated from high school until my fourth baby, and then I was like, okay, I gotta just stay home. But
okay.
I really hated giving it up, because I love the law and I love being. I mean, it's not even a job anymore. They've eliminated legal secretaries with computers and all kinds of stuff. So.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, because when I was there, it was probably the end of it then. It's probably the end of it. We had a lot of, I bet you did you do a lot of like high-level paralegal work?
Oh, yeah. Well, the firm I worked for in D.C., we did all Supreme Court work. And so we did have, paralegals, but they were mostly interns. But the way that we were set up, like, what would it be today, but you'd have to like get a degree as a paralegal. But we were doing it anyway back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it was it was a fun era to be. I had so much fun doing it. So
I bet.
I missed the law. I missed it. It was, it was awesome. But when I saw that, I was like, I knew it. I always get along really well with lawyers because,
yeah, because you had
a huge chunk of my life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, so what project are you working on next?
Well, it's I don't have an issue talking about it, but it just may change is the thing. But it's basically it's half slave narrative and half contemporary. It's a very distinct slave narrative, though, because I am starting to because we see a lot of slave narratives, and it's always good to have variety. So it's distinct in certain important ways, and it's connected in a way I won't say now, but it's connected to the contemporary part, which just involves a relationship between two Black people who have assimilated and who are confronted with their past in a sort of tragic way.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait.
You.
Are you on any kind of deadline? I mean, do you know when? Do you have anything? Or
no, I'm not. I would like to be done in a month. With the first draft.
Yeah, right.
But and I that might happen, but it's hard to know because I got to what I thought would be the end of one of the sections today, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is working. So I'll know better next week how much time I have, and also childcare. So it's hard for me to find. I only need 20 hours a week of childcare basically, and it's hard to find someone who can just do 20 hours because people are looking for a full-time job. Right. So and I don't have the 40 hours to give them. So So, all of this stuff is up in the air. But I'm thinking another month for, a first draft, of course, and then I'll have to edit that.
Well, it's very inspiring for other authors to hear you. You've got 3 children, 3 small children, and you're writing books. And I love talking to women like you because when I was raising children, I don't know that I could have been writing books. So I really love talking.
You had a full-time job.
I did.
But thank you. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's inspiring for women, and my daughters are in their 20s, and I always am constantly telling them, you can do other things, and because the kids grow up, that's what happens, and
yeah.
It's always nice to have your thing, and so you're
that's
really
right.
you're an inspiration to women out there, and
so
I'm really happy.
You. I appreciate that.
I'm happy that I had the chance to talk to you, and so everybody go out and get A Kind of Freedom. It is getting rave reviews on Amazon and Goodreads and everywhere I looked it up. I mean, you must be thrilled with the reviews for a debut novel that this is receiving.
Thank you. I feel really grateful about it. You never know, how it's going to come out. So I just feel super grateful that it was well received.
Well, let me know when your next book comes out because I'd love to talk to you again.
Okay, I will.
And I'd love to read it.
It was great to talk to you. Thank
yes.
you.
And I will have all of Margaret's links under this video. And, thank you, everybody, for listening to us. And thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. So that was my interview with Margaret, and wasn't she so much fun? I could have listened to her talk about New Orleans for a long time, but she had some great stories, and this book was amazing. If you want to read historical fiction, it takes you through 3 generations. It's a great book, and she was so sweet, and I'm so happy that I got to talk to her. And I will have all of Margaret's links under here. Also, if you enjoyed it, please hit like, and you can also subscribe so you can get my videos every day. Thank you, Margaret, and thanks everyone for watching.